You know, for 5 years on the job, you think you've seen it all, right? You walk the same endless marble floors, hear the same garbled train announcements, smell the same stale coffee and cheap cologne, and you start to believe nothing can surprise you. You just clock in, go through the motions, and wait for the dull clock to tick down. But the thing about routine, especially in a sprawling place like Chicago's Union Grand Terminal, is that it's the perfect camouflage for disaster. It's always the quiet moments, the ones you almost miss, that burn the deepest. This is the story of a Tuesday morning, a 5-tap signal, and how my K9, a 100-pound German Shepherd named Echo, taught me that sometimes the only thing you can trust is a guttural, protective growl. My name is Sergeant Ben Carter, and Echo, he's a beast, solid gold and black fur, eyes like polished amber. He walks with this intense, professional precision, his vest saying police like a challenge. We were doing the usual sweep, just passing the North Concourse with the 7:45 to New York boarding. Chaos everywhere. Rolling suitcases, crying babies, guys yelling into cell phones. The whole symphony of stress. And then Echo just stops. Full on. Dead in his tracks freeze. His ears pin back, his nostrils flare, and his whole body, this muscle and instinct coiled up, points dead ahead at a woman and 3 kids weaving through the crowd. The woman, let's call her Ms. Eva Thorne. She looked like pure, expensive efficiency, you know? Bright cobalt coat, large leather handbag, guiding the children with that brisk, late for my life gait. She was too composed. But the little girl, the youngest, maybe 6 or 7, a tiny thing with brown pigtails we later learned was Chloe. She was dragging, a step behind. And that's when Echo started vibrating, not the alert for a bomb, not the scent of drugs. This was different. It felt like rage. I tried to ease him, putting tension on the lead. Easy, buddy, just a crowded platform. But Echo wouldn't break focus. And then I saw it, because Echo forced me to look. The girl's hand, clutching Eva's coat, was making this small, almost imperceptible movement, quick, silent taps against the fabric of the woman's back. 5 short taps. Pause. 5 short taps. Again. It was a secret language, one I couldn't possibly read, but the dog did. He started that low, gravelly growl, the one that makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Eva spun around, a perfect, practiced smile pasted on her face. "Is there an issue, officer?" she asked, smooth as silk, but I caught the tiny tremor in her voice. I felt the tension snap like a thin wire. "Just a routine check. My partner seems interested in your itinerary." I was talking about the bag, but my eyes were locked on Chloe. And that tiny girl, she looked right at Echo, right past Eva, and in that split second, her lips moved, just barely visible over the terminal noise. "Help us." That was it. That's all it took. Everything changed from a routine patrol to a personal crusade, a gut feeling I couldn't ignore. I radioed for backup, keeping my voice calm, but I wasn't waiting for them. I looked Echo in the eye and whispered, "Go time, partner. Find the truth." The dog exploded. Not an attack, just a sudden, deliberate surge, a wall of muscle and fur blocking Eva's escape route, barking this deep, authoritative thunder that stopped the whole terminal dead. "You have no right." Eva shrieked, her perfect composure finally shattering, hands white-knuckled around that expensive bag. "We are going to see family." "Then let's just make sure your family isn't hiding in this bag," I countered, my voice low and steady. The moment I reached out for the zipper, she lunged. Pure, frantic desperation. I managed to pull back, and backup arrived right as the bag hit the inspection table. And that's when the real ugliness started to spill out. Clothes, snacks, normal travel stuff. But tucked into the bottom compartment, we found them. Not guns, not cash, but the papers. Multiple passports, fake IDs, all different names. Sarah Johnson, Maria Diaz, Rebecca Klein, but the exact same cold, unflinching face of Eva Thorne staring back. Then, the kicker, a manila envelope filled with grainy, distant, black and white surveillance photos. Pictures of kids. Kids who weren't Chloe. Kids who looked terrified. I said, holding up a stack of the fake documents, the weight of the realization crushing me. "You're not taking these children anywhere. Not ever." Chloe stepped out from behind Eva, her face tear-streaked but suddenly, incredibly clear. She looked right at the photos. She said we'd all be together again, she whispered, her voice breaking. But they never came back. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a custody dispute, it was an organized kidnapping operation, and but for a silent 5-tap signal and one German Shepherd's protective rage, Chloe and the others would have vanished into the grid. But that was just the start of it. Within the hour, the terminal was sealed off, Eva Thorne was in custody, and the investigation kicked into high gear. Her burner phone, the cheap, no SIM phone we found, was broadcasting one last, faint GPS signal, a moving red dot on the operations map. They were moving the rest of the children that night. We had hours, maybe minutes. The adrenaline rush of the confrontation vanished, replaced by a deep, hollow dread that maybe we were too late. I stood by the map, the commander barking orders, and my hand resting on Echo's solid shoulder. You hear that, partner? We are not done yet. We are going to bring them home. The convoy hit the dark, abandoned warehouse district on the south side around 2 a.m. It felt like a movie set, broken windows, chain link fences, and a silence so deep it felt like a physical threat. Echo was off-leash, his nose low, moving with this primal focus, a hunting machine zeroed in on the scent of fear and stale concrete. He froze at a locked metal door. One low growl, the kind that says, "Found them, get here now." We used a crowbar to pry the door open, and inside, under the beam of my flashlight, were 4 other kids huddled together, eyes wide, wrapped in thin blankets. Relief hit me like a physical punch. We found them. But the night wasn't over. As we were securing the children, a car engine roared to life in the alley. The last link. A black SUV, tire spinning, the driver, a greasy-looking accomplice named Victor, bolting. Go, Echo, G.O. I screamed, unleashing him. You haven't seen speed until you've seen AK-9 run with purpose. He was a blur of black and gold, running faster than the SUV could accelerate on that rough, abandoned pavement. Victor swerved, trying to ditch us, and I watched, heart in my throat, as Echo caught up. He leaped, not to bite to injure, but to tangle, his jaw snapping onto the driver's sleeve through the open window, yanking hard. The distraction was enough. The SUV fishtailed, slammed into a fence, and died in a cloud of steam. I had Victor cuffed and leaning against the fence within 60 seconds. He wasn't scared, just furious, spitting curses. You think this ends it, cop? You have no idea who we work for. You're just scratching the surface. I looked at him, then down at Echo, who stood guarding the scene, breathing heavily, but perfectly composed. Maybe not, I admitted, tightening the cuffs. But I know who you won't be hurting anymore. The next morning, the terminal wasn't a crime scene anymore. It was a sanctuary. The rescued kids, 6 of them, all safe, were wrapped in blankets, drinking cocoa, and finally smiling. And then Chloe's parents arrived. The reunion. Man, you can't prepare for that. Just raw, pure, primal relief. I turned away, trying to keep it together. Chloe broke free from her dad, ran over, and threw her arms around Echo's neck. He just sat there, accepting the hug, tail thumping lightly on the ground. "Thank you," she whispered into his fur. "You're my hero." Before they left, I pulled off Echo's old, scratched-up K9 badge tag and gave it to her. "He's part of your story now, kiddo," I told her, "and you're definitely part of his." I sat on the steps later, exhausted, watching the sun hit the marble. It hit me then. This whole ring, this entire nightmare, wasn't just about some cartoon villain. Eva Thorne wasn't a monster. She was a cog in a massive, horrific machine. During the interrogation, she broke. She admitted they threatened her own family if she didn't play ball. The victims of this kind of horror aren't just the kids. It's the desperation that creates the cogs, the pressure that makes people do the unforgivable. Echo nudged my hand, pulling me back to the present. He wasn't thinking about good or evil. He was just doing his job, listening. Listening for the sound that humans miss. It makes you think, though, about that 5-tap signal.